Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my live stream, Proof I Exist. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about every issue of Proof I Exist I've ever done. I don't know if anyone is logged on yet, if anyone is seeing this. But if you are, then say hello to me. I also have my phone, so if anyone wants to send me a text, I'm going to wait just a little bit. It's 6 o'clock on the dot, and I'm going to wait a little bit to see if anyone actually logs on to watch me do this. Anyone that does watch it tonight, thank you very much, and anybody that watches it in the weeks to come, because I think it just automatically posts it, and I think it'll automatically be up for everybody to watch. So, if this is the exact time your tarot club meets or something, then you can always come up and watch later. We have one person at least watching. Mark Heimbach is here. What's up, Mark? Yeah, I'm 40. I just turned 40 2 weeks ago. Can't you tell from my awesome punk rock haircut? That's the good thing about being unemployed. I am very soon going to be going back to work, so I'll have to shave all this off and look like a normal person again. Before I get started, I want to give a couple tips. So when I'm going through all my old issues of Proof I Exist, like I have a folder, I have a stack. I keep a filing cabinet, and if you're an up and coming zinester and you're trying to figure out how to organize yourself a little bit, I have a couple tips. One, keep at least one copy of every zine you've ever made from the beginning. Just always be making stuff and saving it. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when 5 or 10 years go by, you're going to be like, oh, what was that one zine that I did? So always, as soon as you do your print run, take one and put it in a file somewhere. Anna Joe is in. What's up, Anna Joe? Anna Joe Beck, holding it down in Chicago. My other tip is always save your master. Like I have a filing cabinet of like all the zines I've ever made. I also have a filing cabinet of like all my master copies. So if I wanted, I could reprint almost anything I've ever made. Some have gotten lost and destroyed over time, but I try to do that. The third thing I will suggest is when you start getting reviews of your zine, not only should you save, at least try to save and read the zine that has the review. But what I do is I just make a photocopy of like the review and I put it in a binder, and I have like a binder of 20 years of reviews of my zine, and some of them are terrible reviews. Some of them say that this zine sucks, but I can go back and be like, oh yeah, remember when I wrote that zine in 2003? People kind of liked it or whatever. All right, so today we're going to be talking about, I do a zine called Proof I Exist. I think the first issue came out in 2002. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I'm going to go through all my every single issue, and some of these I haven't looked at in a long time. And so we're going to go through, and I have my phone. If anyone has yes, flip phone, by the way. Yes, old school. If anyone has my number and wants to text me questions or talk, if anybody wants to put a question over in the chat, like my friend, how do you pronounce your online name? Ziguli? I know you too. One of my good friends here in Albuquerque. If anyone wants to put in a question, we can talk as we go. So issue number 1 of Proof I Exist. Also, if anyone out there, Ziguli, thank you. If anyone out there, I'm going to be so distracted talking to people that are chatting with me because online interaction is, kind of novel for me. If anyone out there has copies of any of these zines and you like it or hate it or whatever, there's one part that you thought sucked or one part you thought was great, I would love to hear if anyone has. I really doubt anyone has this, but this is Proof I Exist number 1. On my screen, it shows up mirror image, but I think it shows up regular for you guys. But what I did, the first issue, January 2002, issue 1, that's a weird picture of me that I messed with the image, and then I made a stencil and spray painted on the cover. I have 2 copies of this left. I don't know if there's any other copies anywhere else, but I spray painted the cover. There's a picture on the back. I put a little bit of a spray paint on the back also. I'd been living in Chicago for maybe 2 years, and I hadn't done any zines in a long time. A lot of times people also mention that they really like the name Proof I Exist. I like it too. I stole it from Seemingly So, which was a great zine out of Chicago back in the early 2000s. And in the back of one of her issues, I think her name was Linda O, if I remember correctly. She said, "This zine is proof I exist," and I thought that was the greatest phrase. So that's where I got the name of my zine, Proof I Exist. So the first one just had a bunch of stories of all kinds of stuff. It was totally just random stories. There's a picture of me from 6th grade when I also had a mohawk. It's got some pictures and stories of my old band from high school. Not a terrible layout, nothing great. For a first issue, it's pretty solid, but it definitely is all about me, which I know my zine is all about me. It's proof I exist, but it had I really didn't do too many pictures of myself other than this first issue. One of my favorite parts of this issue was I did a roommate report. I had a couple roommates at the time, Ryan Rude, Dan, I think Rory. This is when I was living in the command center in Chicago, and so I wrote all about them and stories about them. And yeah, it was I don't know. I got a story about Ed Gein, the serial killer from Wisconsin. So it's just got a whole bunch of random stories, no continuous thought process, but I thought it was a pretty decent issue. January 2002, old school. Hello, Nix, checking in from Australia, bright and early morning. Thank you for getting up early to see this. And yes, Ryan Rude, one of my good friends. I lived with him for a couple of years. His last name is Rude, and I just always thought that was his punk rock name because we all had punk rock names. And then I found out eventually that after 2 years of living with him, that was his real last name. Okay, Proof I Exist number 2. I also have 2 copies of this. I did different copies. Some had the black cover, some had the white cover, but it's the same zine. I always, I don't know, I try to save 2 copies of things. If one gets trashed, I can still have it. This is the Minneapolis issue. So this issue came out in June of 2002. Also, when you're doing zines, I think you don't have to put it on the cover, but somewhere you should put like what month and year that you're putting out this zine, because then when you pick up a random zine, you can be like, oh, they wrote this in whatever. So this came out in June of 2002. The Minneapolis issue, right before moving to Chicago, I lived in Minneapolis for about a year, a little less than a year. And this is all about my adventures in Minneapolis. So it's roommates that I had. I was living with 5 people at the time. Such a good deal. It's all about me going gambling for the first time, because you only had to be 18 to gamble in Minneapolis, and I was 18. It's got I lived in this place called Mill Pond. So it's got like stories about basically just about all the people. So I lived in Minneapolis and then I moved to Chicago, and this is all about just people that I loved and missed. Stories about people. There's this guy named Vampire Dan who legitimately claimed over and over that he was a real life vampire. And you couldn't prove him wrong. How do you prove someone's not a vampire other than kill him? I guess we saw him in the daytime. That should have given away. Anyway, stories about friends of mine, just people that I knew, pretty much all text, very text heavy. It was Minneapolis was a great time. I wasn't there for very long, but it was a good time. Terrible photocopies. Look at this. You can't even, it's a person. You can't tell who it is at all. You can't tell who it is at all. Terrible quality of photos. In the back, I just noticed there is a little ad for Loop Distro. Loop Distro was the zine distro that I ran when I lived in Chicago, and I don't know what year I started it, but I guess I was doing it in June of 2002 because I have an ad there. I used to distro anything that was printed in Chicago. I would sell it. So Minneapolis issue number 2. Want to reissue number 3, Mark says, and the others to have a complete set. Well, I don't know. You got to tell me exactly which ones you're missing. Are you only missing 3? I have 2 copies of number 3, but I just accidentally broke one of them. Let's move on to number 3. Proof I Exist number 3 came out in February of 2003. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I'm up to like 32 issues. So about 2 issues a year. about every 6 months. This one, I can't remember who did that. That's like a stipple drawing of me on the front. I had these cool little reflective Ninja Turtle things that I glued on. Has nothing to do with the zine. I just love the Ninja Turtles. I also went to the thrift store and got some book called Best Behavior, A Child's Guide to Manners at Home, and I use that as sort of like the theme. So there's like all these like little pictures from the book throughout. This one is also just kind of a random issue with just lots of different stories. I haven't looked at this in a long time. It's got a lot of handwritten stuff. It's got some letters that I wrote to other zine friends of mine that I copied and put into there. One thing I did in this one that I thought was really cool, there was a zine in Chicago at the time called Retail Horror by Catherine Raz. I haven't talked to her in years, but she was awesome, and she did a zine called Retail Horror that was really good. And I was working retail at the time, and so I did 2 little mini zines called Retail Bore and Retail Score, and I copied her covers for my little mini zines, and then I did little mini zines that I put in that are like stapled in. And one of them is all like boring stories from my work, and one of them is like really exciting stories. So it was sort of referencing her zine, but then talking about my own stories. I did a roommate report in this one too. I thought that was pretty fun. I don't know why people would be interested in my roommates, but Ryan is in this one again. Ryan, you're out there somewhere. I don't know. It was a pretty good. Oh, you know what? I did do one thing. Is this the issue? I did do one thing in this issue that I regretted. I talked about, there was this girl in Chicago that I had a crush on. Never talked to her. She rode a scooter, and I called her Scooter Girl, and I would see her on my way to work, and I thought she was like the coolest, cutest, badass, most cool looking person. I always wanted to talk to her. And I wrote a whole bunch of stuff about her. And it was really like a bit much. It was very stalkerish. And this was one issue that a lot of people like, you can't be like talking about her like that and describing her. Like people will figure out who this is. Someone, like, even if I'm not stalking her, which I wasn't stalking her, but she lived in the neighborhood, I would just see her randomly. But people could read this and like figure out how to stalk her. And I was like, yeah, that was like a bit overboard. I go crush crazy sometimes. It's a little bit out of control. Not nearly as bad as it used to be. But there you go. Proof I Exist number 3. Proof I Exist number 4. Moving right along. This is I think this is might be the first quarter size I ever did. Pretty close. I did another zine called Her for a while, and I did 5 issues. I think that was quarter size, but this is the first quarter size issue of Proof I Exist. It was 50 cents, and it was long story short. This one I used all typewriter. The stories are short. They're kind of bland. I think that's just a random picture of a dude. I don't think he has anything to do with anything. I talked about the band The Eels. I talked about this cool coffee shop I used to go to called Tommy's in Chicago. I talk about graffiti. I talk about the Bridge House. Does anyone from Chicago remember the Bridge House? This like secret place you could sneak into, do drugs or hang out or paint graffiti or whatever. I reprinted somebody else's review of the band The Coughs. It's very short and sweet, short stories, very Chicago centered. Good little pocket size zine. Number 5. I've already been talking for 14 minutes. Oh, CT remembers Bridge House. CT, what's up? Someone asked me how long this thing's going to be. It'll be however long. I don't know how long I'm going to be. I'm trying to talk fast because I have a lot of issues to get. I have a lot of issues. All right, number 5. That's a picture of me dressed up as a clown. CT remembers this. For Halloween one year, I went as a dead pregnant clown. And the woman I was dating at the time was one of the best makeup artists ever in the world. And she did my makeup, and you couldn't tell if I was male or female. You couldn't tell if I was actually pregnant or not. You couldn't tell anything. I was a dead pregnant clown. It's probably my favorite Halloween costume ever. So this one is all photos. It is, I think this is I think this is quarter size, but it's not actual quarter size. It's bigger. So I think it's quarter legal size. So like the 8.5 by 14 cut into half and then folded in half. So it's quarter legal size. Oh, Margaret, yeah, you know the Bridge House. Cool. There's a couple Chicago people up in here tonight. I thought it would be, I didn't know who would actually be watching tonight. It's nice to some Chicago people. All right. Proof I Exist number 5, all photos, talking about me, talking about my life, my family. There's Dave. There's my buddy Eric I went to film school with. There's a bunch of people Chicagoans probably recognize from a party from 2003. What year did this come out? This came out in April 2004. Talks about street art. Basically, every page was a different photo, and then I would handwrite the story of the photo. So talking about just different people I know, different bands. What was the name of that band? It was 2 people. One played guitar, one screamed. They had a drum machine. You guys know that band. They were so good. There's a picture I took from the top of the Sears Tower of Chicago. There's a picture of my dad. R.I.P. R.I.P. Papa. Yeah, just a bunch of photos. It was kind of fun to do a photo zine. And you'll notice if you go back to the terrible photocopy quality of like issue 2, where it's just black and white and you can't see anything, you can actually make out a few details in these photos. So I don't know where I was making my copies in 2004, but obviously I found a better place to make copies. Plaguebringer, yes. Plaguebringer. How good were they? All right. Proof I Exist 5.5. A little itsy bitsy mini that probably nobody has except for me. This came out in July 2004. 2004, I graduated in 99 from Iowa. So 2004 was my 5-year reunion. So I made this little itsy bitsy tiny zine to give to my former classmates, my high school classmates. My high school classmates who mostly don't know what a zine is, mostly had never been to Chicago, mostly don't like me. There's a few that like me. I went to my 20th reunion last year, and I wish I hadn't. It was so weird. Like there was like 2 or 3 people that I was super stoked to see, and I guess that made it worth it. But then like, I don't know, it was just weird. Anyway, this is my 5-year reunion, so I just made a tiny little zine. I think I printed like 50 of them and just gave it out to people, just talking. This is like an update of like, I've been living in Chicago and I've been doing this and blah, blah, blah. And it was like to catch all my high school classmates up on what I had been doing for the last 5 years. None of them cared. All right, Proof I Exist number 6. I am not very good at drawing, but I like drawing. It's nice, it's relaxing, it's peaceful. I enjoy it. This is a handwritten, hand-drawn. The cover is me drawing a picture of myself. This came out in March 2005. All handwritten stories. I don't have, when I take my time, I have pretty good handwriting. I don't have bad handwriting. Some zinesters have spot on, like Aaron Comic Books obviously is the gold standard, best handwriting in the biz. I just read, what zine did I just read? I can't remember, but it was from, it was from 2012. It was an old zine from Florida called, I think it's called Actual Freak. I think that was the name of it. She had great handwriting. My handwriting is, when I concentrate, it's okay. It's legible. A lot of zines, people do handwritten. It is not legible, and it is terrible. There's nothing special. More stories about people I hung out with. Billy T, old Bill Tucker, got a story about him. Got a story about Erica. This is a story about I was riding my bike in Chicago, and some rednecks in a truck flicked a cigarette at me. And this story is called I Did Something Bold Last Night. The bold thing I did is I caught up to them at the red light and fucking spit in their window all over this guy's face, and then biked my ass down every side alleyway to get home, and it was really fun. And I forgot about that until just now. I'm glad I wrote down this story. Fucking faggot! Throwing their cigarettes at me. And then I tell all my punk friends, like, I spit on these rednecks. And they're like, dude, you should have busted his window. You should have kicked out his tail light. I'm like, hey, man, I spit on a guy. That was enough for me. So, hey, Cheyenne's here. Hi, Cheyenne. And Nick's is still here. Okay. Proof I Exist number 7. I promise nobody has. Here's the only one that I have, and here's what it looks like. This is a cardboard thing. When you go to the quarter machines, like at the gas station, you put in 50 cents and get a sticker. It comes out, and then you open up this cardboard thing. So somehow I didn't buy the stickers, but somehow I don't know if I found them in a dumpster, but I found 300 like cardboard flappy things. So what I did is hand wrote. 300 is probably an exaggeration. Probably probably 100, 150. And I wrote, one at a time, Proof I Exist number 7. I wrote my email on the back, and then every single one was different. So this particular one is a weird drawing of some fingers grabbing some color. And on the back it says, I thought maybe you felt the power. Deep, right? I thought maybe you. So anyway, I did like 100 of these and just gave them out to people and just handed them out and stuck them, under windshield wipers or whatever. And that was Proof I Exist number 7. I don't know. Proof I Exist number 8. This one is a beast. This one is a lot of words. This one is like a little mini novel. This one is heavy. It is from August 2006, and it's called Life, Love, and Anything That Matters. My father passed away in 2005, and I had some other close friends pass away in 2005, and it was a tough year for Billy. This is in loving memory of my father, William Howard Roberts. This is a whole huge story about my dad passing away, about, about a lot of heavy stuff, about a lot of deep, heavy stuff. My friends passing away. I talk about the Titanic. It makes sense when you read it. I've always had this like weird spiritual connection to the Titanic, and it's just such a huge tragedy. And so I don't know. I talk about the people dying on the Titanic. Talk about a lot of deep, heavy stuff. The cover is this guy. This is no one I know. I got this, I think, just out of a magazine or something. This is a picture of a guy from World War II. He was a POW, and he got rescued after the war. I think he's an American. Yeah, American POW. And he's just got this look on his face of like, he's so happy to be out of the POW camp, but he's seen such atrocities through the war. And I don't know, he's got so much to be thankful for, and so much, like, he's just got a lot of emotions. And that's how I felt when I did this zine, just a lot of emotions, like so happy about so many things and just all fucked up inside too. So pretty heavy issue. My friend, I won't say his name, but a good friend of mine, this was the first issue my zine I ever gave him. And he was like, oh my God, like, you're so like deep, you're so sensitive, you're so serious. But I was only serious for that time. I'm not that serious. And then like later he read other issues like, oh, this issue is really like stupid, and this one's really funny. And I guess you're not always so serious all the time. Proof I Exist number 9. Trying to pave the way for a brand new day. This one is a bunch of letters that I wrote to people, and I told a story through, I don't know, I think I tell a story through the letters I tell. Like I was intentionally writing letters that were really good and talking about my life, and I would photocopy the letter and then I would mail it to people. And then later I printed those letters in here. And so it's a bunch of letters just to specific people. So it's Dear Doug, da 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 da. Dear so-and-so, da 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 da. Dear Dan, da 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 da. Dan, if you're out there, I still feel bad about this. One of these letters was an apology about something I did that I shouldn't have done, that I regret. So anyway, it was pretty good. What was that? That was Proof I Exist number 9. Let's move on to number 10. We're a third of the way through, basically. Short little issue, quarter size, more random stories. All text, all writing. Lots of stories. Stories about hanging out in Milwaukee. I was still living in Chicago at the time. Stories about the end of the world. This came out in November of 2009. November of 2009. Oh, hey, Rebecca Morris is here. The first one you read. Which one was the first one you read? This one? Oh, this one? That was the first one you read. It's heavy, man. That's a serious one. Then this one was not so serious, although it has serious parts. And then this was just a whole bunch of serious, just some serious, some not serious stories. Proof I Exist, I try to mix it up. So like I'll have one that's like very text heavy, and then the next issue is not text heavy, and then the next issue is quarter size, the next one's half size. Try to kind of like move it around a little bit. So this was thick and short. This one's thin and tall. Proof I Exist, number 11 from August 2010. I really like that cover. It's a photo I did not take. This has stories about, again, on a typewriter. Oh, I think I wrote all of this. I was traveling. I took a trip to Indianapolis to go see my friend Doug Travis, and he gave me a typewriter. Like, Doug Travis is a brilliant artist. He used to live in Chicago. Now he lives in Indianapolis. And I slept on his floor. The next day I wake up and he's like, not exaggerating, got like 20 typewriters lined up. And he's like, pick one out, like whichever one you want. So I picked one that had a good handle, and I could carry the typewriter around. And so then I would plug it in and type stories. And when I got back to Chicago, I took all the stories and made a zine of it. And yes, Cheyenne, that was the time that we went to Indianapolis together. That was a pretty good time. That was a good trip. Nick says the variety and proof I exist from issue to issue reminds me. Yeah. So Nick's does a zine called Don't Call Me Cupcake, and also some others. And your zines are all very uniform, which I kind of like. It's weird. You kind of have to make the decision, because my other zine, Last Night at the Casino, I try to keep them all really uniform and different subject matter and stuff, but they all the same size. But with Proof I Exist, I intention like every issue is different. Demolition Derby, dude. When we were in Indianapolis and we went on all those rides and I ate all that cotton candy. Do you remember? Like, we got back and I puked so much from county fair junk food. It was awful. All right, Proof I Exist, number 12. I moved from Chicago to Albuquerque. This is called Week 1. I wrote this in the first week of me living in New Mexico, and it's all about my trip from Chicago to New Mexico. I packed everything in a U-Haul. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know where I was going. All I had was a U-Haul, my dog, and my stuff, and that was it. And I drove out here, slept a couple nights in the U-Haul, like drove around in a U-Haul, like looking at apartments, and ended up moving into this place in the mountains. And I lived for a year in the mountains. So this is week 1. It's all stories about driving around in a U-Haul. I took this one and I took to like Staples or Office Max or one of those places. And I was like, how much? I had just like the flats. I'm like, how much for 100 copies of these? And so I can't remember what they priced me, but it was like, 70 cents per. It was like $70 for 100 issues. So I'm like, cool, let's do it. And then I got them back, and there was like this like one line where the toner had like fucked up on their copy machine. And I was like, yo, man, I'm paying good money for this. And it's a very insignificant detail. But I'm like, look at this. It looks like garbage. I got to throw these in the trash. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. We didn't notice. We'll run you another 100 copies for free. And they're like, you want us to throw these away? I'm like, no, I'll keep them. So I ended up getting 200 copies for $70. And I don't know if there's too many of these around, but that's from September 2010. So now, if anyone out there has this issue, this is a special one. Proof I Exist 13. Proof I Exist number 13. I made exactly 113 copies of this. Something like this, I did the 200 copies, but if I ever wanted to do more, I could do more. Any of these, sometimes if someone, hey, can you give me whatever, I'll go back and recopy it. This, I made exactly 113 copies and said that I would never recopy it or reprint it, and I never have. This is the one that I put more effort into as far as the actual production than any zine I've ever done. So the first thing, we're going to go into some details. A lot of these zines have been kind of boring to look at over the computer, but this one's actually kind of interesting. The first thing you'll notice is that there's a picture of me from Chuck E. Cheese on the cover. I used to go to Chuck E. Cheese a lot, and I would always get my picture taken. And they had, they probably still do, but they had this thing that would do like a weird, basically it looked like a photocopy, but it was like a photo booth, and it printed out on this paper. So yes, I had over 100 of these. So that's the first thing. The second thing to notice is that I use like a rubber stamp to do the proof I exist number 13. I sold these for $8, so at the bottom it says $8. The next thing to notice is that I took the cover is cardstock, but then I covered it with cloth and sewed it on, and then I sewed on the binding. This is the only zine I've ever done a sewn binding. There's sewing and there's staples to hold it in and sewing to keep the cloth on. Every single copy of this zine had a different picture, different fabric covering it. You open it up, and the first thing that you would see is a little Ziploc bag with some part of me. This particular one says chest hair. I had pubic hair. I had one of my teeth had like chipped. One of them had my teeth in it. Some had fingernail clippings. Some had toenail clippings. Disgusting. I know. I think it's so cool. I wish someone else would sell a zine with their hair like in it. This one had my chest hair. Every single issue had a different thing in it. So whatever, you know, and on the inside, I used a rubber stamp. It says only 113 copies. This is number 27. So each one was individually hand stamped. I don't remember any of the actual stories that are in here. Oh, the mysterious case of the exploding air. That's a pretty good story. There's some good stories in here, I think. Mostly I remember all the work that I did into the production. In the middle, I did another little page insert mini story, and then that comes through on the back also. The writing, I think, is probably pretty good. Probably not great, but decent. In the middle, I taped in a little pocket, and in the pocket, I put a baseball card. But then you flip it over, and it's actually a card for me. It has Billy stats. So this says where I eat, what I eat, where I live, what I play, things I've done. You know, I'm concerned that Billy is concerned his friends will only say they like his writing because they are his friends. You know, stuff like that. Things I enjoy: gambling, sports, punk rock, tall bikes, things I'm bored with, Facebook. So this had like a bunch of stats of me that was back on the back of a baseball card. So everyone got their own baseball card with Billy stats on the back. Single one had a different photograph taped in right here. This is a photograph I took. They were all photos that I took. What else? Oh, another zine within a zine. You get to this page, and there's a little flip up, fold down. So this is sort of like just like a trifold. So I taped or I glued part of it. This has a list of celebrity crushes that I had. Andy Samberg, Dolly Parton, Daniel Negreanu, Ed Norton, Juliette Lewis, Johnny Knoxville, Belladonna, Bridget Powers, Sarah Silverman. I talk about my celebrity crushes. Important stuff you got to know. The back, you get to the back, I block printed stickers that said proof I exist. And so every single issue had its own block printed sticker. $8 is a lot for a zine, but let me tell you, I put so much work into this. It took forever, and I knew I was only going to do 113 and never do them again. So if you have one of these, collector's item if there ever was one. Okay, that was number 13. Moving along. Proof I Exist 13.5. March of 2011. This is a story, The Almost Attack of the Bear. This is one of the, I don't remember why I did a mini zine. I don't remember why I did this. But it's just like one little handwritten story about the time I was almost attacked by a bear. Me and my friend Jenna camping in the Blue Ridge Mountains in my mind, almost died. In her mind, no big deal. In my mind, we almost died. So this is like a little short thing. I think I only printed 50 or 100 of that. I don't even know why or who I gave it to. Probably for some special event. Moving along. Proof I Exist number 14. 2 copies of this. I think I did. This says I printed 75 of them. This is gambling stories about when I started working as a casino dealer. I had just gotten a job as a casino dealer, and it was cool, and it was weird, and it was interesting, and it was difficult. It's got some little drawings in there. I kind of like these little drawings in here. So I wrote all these little stories, and after I put this out, I'm like, you know what? I already know I need like a separate series for I need a separate series for my casino stories, and that's when I started the zine last night at the casino. But the first casino zine was actually Proof I Exist 14, where I talked about the casino. Jeremiah is online, and he remembers the yellow labels forever and ever, forever and ever. I still got a stack. I know you do too. Proof I Exist, number 15. Came out in March 2012. By this time, I'm living in Albuquerque. This is all text. Pocket size, all text. Some good stories, a lot of stories about my dog, stories about living in New Mexico, stories about relationships, stories about the cellar door. If there's any Albuquerque people online right now, you know about the cellar door. Pretty good issue. That little typewriter was drawn by my special lady. It's my tattoo on my ankle. I think that story's in here too. I asked her to draw me a typewriter, and she didn't know why, but she drew a typewriter for me, and then I got it tattooed on my leg, and later showed it to her, and that was my I thought that was pretty fun. That story is in there. Proof I Exist 16, June of 2013. Nothing too special in here. Oh, I talked about working at Michael's. That was funny. It's all text, all stories, what it's like to live in Albuquerque. One of the most famous Albuquerque stickers ever. Basic layout, nothing too special. Oh, a little thing on Almost Famous. People that I've met that are like almost famous. Like one time I saw Carrot Top in line, but I never actually talked to him. One time, for a while I was sleeping with someone that had made out with Joe Strummer. I never met Joe Strummer, but I made out with someone that made out with Joe Strummer. So that's kind of like a fun little thing. Proof I Exist 17. The cover, which you can, for some reason, this is not a very good photocopy, but that's taken out of Jeremiah's window in Chicago. Went back to visit Chicago for a little bit. It's got some old Chicago stories. I think I went back to for the Zine Fest or something. Oh, because Uncle Fun was closing. So going back to Chicago, for all you Chicago people, there used to be a store called Uncle Fun, and I used to work there, and it was the best time of my life, and then they closed. So this is about going back to Chicago, seeing Uncle Fun, seeing all the old Chicago stuff, all the old Chicago people, seeing my friend Sky, seeing my friend Laura, Mary Beth. Gotta love Mary Beth. Yeah, pretty good issue. 17 came out in March of 2014. Everywhere I work closes. It's true. Uncle Fun in Chicago was amazing. Cellar Door here in Albuquerque was amazing. They are both gone. Proof I Exist number 18. This is an oldie, but I still reprint this and sell it pretty regularly because it's When Two Dicks Touch. This came out in 2014. By most people assume that I'm straight because A, I'm married to a woman, and B, I get lots of crushes on lots of women. But I am not straight, and I identify as queer. I don't talk about it a lot. It's just like, but it's also not a secret. But this is about the few times that I have dated men, which I haven't dated in a while. Probably need to change that, get on that. But yeah, it's got stories about the first time I ever made out with a dude, stories about the first time I ever spent the night with a dude. It's got some sexy stories. It's got this, let me find this image, the center picture. I got this patch at Chicago Zine Fest. It just says, I wear what I want. And I just thought that it really summed me up because, I don't know, I wear whatever I want. I wear animal costumes or dresses or pants or whatever. So this is a lot about sex. This is like my queer issue. I also talk about open relationships and different polyamorous relationships I've been in. This came out in October 2014. Yeah, if you want to read some sexy dude-on-dude action, there you go. Proof I Exist, number 19. This is 1 month of my life from January 2015. Have you guys ever heard of the Fun a Day project? I can't remember where it started, but basically in January, you pick out something and you do it once a day, every day for January. So some people do a drawing every day or write a poem every day or do whatever. So for me, I thought I would do a bunch of, like, whatever I do, just like my normal life, but then I would write about it once a day. And then at the end, I made it into a zine. So this is basically a daily journal for the month of January 2015. Some of them are kind of boring. Some of the stories are pretty good. And it kind of puts you into my mind a little bit of how my mind works. And it was weird also, I will admit, because when I know I'm writing a zine about what I do, then I'm like, oh, I got to do something interesting today because I'm going to be writing about it. And I think zines just kind of live like that anyway. Like, oh, I'm going on a trip. I better do something exciting so I can write about it in my zine. So there was a little bit of that going on, but there was also a lot of days that were plenty boring. But my band was playing a show and I got to write about that. My favorite part of this zine, though, and it's on the cover, you can't really see, but what this is that's a car. It's my car, and there's a bag of groceries right up here. In January of 2015, I constructed this grocery bag, and it had all these empty empty boxes and like a fake bag of bread, but it was all empty and hollow. But then there was like a little shelf with stuff just sticking out of the top. And the bottom of the bag was 4 very strong magnets, so I could take this bag and put it onto the top of my car. The result is that I could drive around and there was a bag of groceries on my car. It was one of the weirdest and funnest social experiments and performance art experiments that I've done. Alicia and I, she was in the passenger and I was driving, and we'd drive and people would honk, they'd whistle, hey, they're flagging us down. And I realized after, every time we get to a stoplight, someone would come over and like knock on our window and tell us like, hey, you got groceries on the top. And I realized I couldn't stop at any more red lights. And so I would just drive around and people were like chasing us and they're honking at us. And I'm like, I can't stop her. Like one guy actually tried to pull the groceries off. It was and then there was a bunch of good reactions. There was one guy that got out of his car and he came up. He's like, what are you, fucking idiots or something? You just think that's funny? Make me think that groceries going to fall in my car. He was so pissed. But one of the best reactions was there's this suburban mom pushing her kid in a stroller, and we're driving along, and then she's on the sidewalk and she's like, hey, you got groceries on your roof. And we're like, yeah, we know. And she goes, oh, is that an art project or something? And we go, yeah. And she goes, huh, that's really funny. And then she was the only one that 100% got it. It was great. It was great. So Proof I Exist 19, just a bunch of stories about everything I did in a month. Proof I Exist 20. It's a little shorty. It's kind of a weird size. This is a regular quarter size, and you'll notice that this is a little bit smaller. Why does that matter? Because my band, Rudis Priest, made a CD during 2015, and I printed the inside liner notes for the CD because we did all DIY. And there was a little bit, a CD is 5 inches, right? And so the CD liner notes were 5 inches, and so on an 8.5, I got 3 inches left. So I made a zine in 3 days, and then put it on there. So when I was making all these photocopies for our CD, I was also basically printing a free zine. So I think on the back it says there are 200 copies of this printed, and this is number 76. It's called Why I'm in a Band, and it's just talking about all the different bands I've been in. From my first band in high school was called Luster. I was in a bunch of bands in Chicago, PAL and the Hidden Dangers and the Forgotten Four, and then Fort Hobo and Rudis Priest out here in Albuquerque. So just me telling a bunch of band stories in a sort of quarter size shape. Proof I Exist 21. Oh my God, I've been talking for 43 minutes. You guys are good people for staying on this long. Proof I Exist 21. This is from Hawaii. This is August 2015. This is a long history of foolish sunburns. In 2015, Alicia and I went out to Hawaii. We stayed with Mark and David. Well, we didn't stay with them, but we hung out with them a whole bunch and figured out what Hawaii was all about. It's all Hawaii stories. Yes, there's a story in here about me getting a crush on somebody. There's also a story about me being terrified of the fucking ocean. I grew up in the Midwest, dude, and I'd seen the ocean before going to Hawaii, but I'd never really gotten down into it and gone snorkeling and stuff like that. It was amazing and it was beautiful, but a river flows in one direction and a lake just has some like waves, but the ocean's just like back and forth and pushing and pulling, and I don't know, the ocean freaks me out. But stories about my dog, stories about the ocean, stories about drinking beer and eating food, stories about going up to Haleakala, the amazing mountain up in Maui, all that sort of stuff. Alicia just got home. Hi! Lots of pictures and color cover. So can't go wrong with that. Proof I exist number 22. So July is International Zine Month, and this was in July of 2015. And I think International Zine Month is like one of the best things ever. And like every day there's like a different thing to do. Like today you should read an old zine. Today you should work on your zine. Today you should order from a distro. But my stupid life is so zine oriented that every day is like International Zine Day for me. So a lot of times I don't really do all the things. Like I'll be like, oh, today I'll do that thing for International Zine Month. But for this one, I'm like, I'm going to do every single thing every single day for the whole month of July. So that's all it is it's just like me keeping a journal of like, today I'm supposed to do this, so I did this. Today I'm supposed to do this, so I did this. In the middle, once again, a little pocket with a zine within a zine. And I don't know what this is about, but this is Proof I Exist 22.5. I don't even remember what this is. Some handwritten stuff, dreams that I've had, stuff that I love, stuff that I hate. I don't know, just a little thing. I think this is a really, if you're like a nerdy zinester, this is actually a really good issue because I geek out on zines pretty heavy. The thing that I hate about this issue, this is a half size. So these are both half size. This is like a normal half size zine. You fold it up, you mail it. It's really easy. You're folding the paper, like the long way. This is half size, but you're folding the paper the short way. So it's 11 inches long and 4.25 inches wide. Dude, you cannot like mail these. They are such a fucking pain in the ass to mail. You have to get like a big, long manila envelope, and then you got this one little flappy thing in there, and it's all awkward. You have to pay extra postage because it's a bigger envelope. And then you try to put it on your shelf. You can't put it on your shelf. It slides in like sideways. So if you're trying to like, this is like the worst format for a zine. But the actual zine I like. My friend Crystal did a zine that was the same size and shape, but hers was all about working in a diner, weirdo du jour. And so it was kind of like the pad that a waitress would, it's a great zine, but like you put it on the shelf and there's nowhere for it to go. So this is probably my least favorite format of a zine. I'd rather just have like a whole full size zine. All right, Proof I Exist 23, questions and answers. I think this was done for some special event here in Albuquerque. I don't remember, but it's all questions about zines. I think why did I do this? Well, was this for Caitlin? I think I was giving a talk. I think I was giving a Zoom meeting talk, and they sent me a bunch of questions and that I was going to answer during the talk. And I think I also just answered them in a zine and put it out. Yeah, questions and answers about zines. I don't really remember that one. Number 24, short stories, came out April 2016. It's short stories. It says it's short stories, and it is. I kind of like the layout on this. I think I went to the thrift store again and got like some old magazines or something. And yeah, just like a whole bunch of short stories. In the back, once again, the zine within a zine, little pocket. Proof I Exist 24.5. This is all about a 3-day tour that my band took into Colorado. We played some shows, so I wrote some stories about that. That's all. Proof I Exist 25. We're almost done. Stick with me. Silly and serious. I've been in a bunch of bands, and we all scream, and you can never understand the lyrics. And so for this one, I went through and for my band, Rudis Priest, I went through song by song and talked about what this song is about. So if you ever wanted to know what our songs are about, you could read about it. And then also there's a CD, which I know you can listen to our music, but this is a CD of me speaking the lyrics, like poetry almost, so that you can actually understand the words. It's cool being in a punk band. I mean, I love it, but I really, really like my words, and I think I write good lyrics. but no one ever knows the lyrics. So this is my chance to let people know what the songs were about. Proof I Exist 26. This is a fucking beast. I think this is 92 pages. 92 pages. It's like 16 sheets of paper, quarter size. Can't hardly fold the fucking thing. This is all about when my band went on tour. We went from Albuquerque to New York City and back. It was like 2 weeks. This is all I talk about. The different members of the band. I talk about all, it's a tour zine. It's a tour diary. Our van broke down. Our car got robbed. We didn't make the one show. We tried to play the other show. Whatever. If you like tour stories, there you go. Proof I Exist 27. Came out October 2017. This is First Impressions. This is the Baltimore issue. Remember when I moved to Baltimore for a couple years? Something to do. This is all stories, I think, pretty much from the first couple weeks, maybe the first month of living in Baltimore. Pretty simple layout, cut and paste, nothing fancy. I really like black backgrounds. Now that I own my own photocopier and I pay for my own toner, I'm doing more the lighter backgrounds. This background really tears it up. But when I'm getting my copies made somewhere else, it costs the same no matter how much toner. Anyway, these are all stories about Baltimore, just random people that I met, stuff that I did, yada yada. Proof I Exist 27.5. One sheet of paper. I don't know who this was. Oh, this was for, I had some stuff in an art show. Yeah, I had some stuff in an art show, including samples of my zines. So I printed up like 200 of these for them to give away at the art show. Once again, super black background with the white text. I don't even know what this says. Probably no one has a copy of it. Maybe the zine I'm the most proud of. Proof I Exist 28. A lot of you have this. A lot of you know this. This is a zine I wrote. It's about my brother. It's about addiction. It's about drugs. It's about family. It's about my relationship with alcohol and drugs. I typed this whole thing in like 3 or 4 days on a typewriter. I didn't edit it. I didn't correct it. And then I put it all into a zine. I got done making this and I told Alicia, I'd been locked in my room for like 3 days and I come out. She's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, I think I just wrote the best zine I've ever written in my life. And I try not to brag about myself, but I was very proud of this. And then I continue to be proud of it. The magazine Broken Pencil, it was nominated and then won for Zine of the Year last year. So I'm very, very proud of this. I went up and printed 300 copies at this place not in Philadelphia, somewhere in Pennsylvania. And I printed on a risograph. So the first 300 copies of this have this beautiful blue ink on this beautiful tan paper. And it's all words, no pictures. But it's pretty good story, I think. 300 copies on the risograph. And then now I still do color cover, but then I do black and white on the inside because I just do photocopy. I did 300 on the risograph. I've probably done another 200 since then. So anyway, moving along. Sorry for talking so much and so long. I think we'll get done in less than an hour. That's like a normal time to do a live event, right? Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Give me something to do. Gives you guys something to do. Proof I Exist 29, the hockey issue, cover by Frank O'Kay, a Chicago native. I was at a Zine Fest. Which one was it? The Barnard Feminist Zine Fest in New York, maybe. I think that's where I was. And I met somebody, and I was wearing a Chicago hoodie for Chicago Blackhawks because they're my team, even though they're not so great these days, but I love my Chicago Blackhawks. And my friend that I met with that was the Zinester was also wearing a hockey shirt, and we got to talking. And I was like, I wonder if there's other zine people that like sports, because zine people never talk about sports, and zine people in general are nerdy geek punks that don't do sports. I'm definitely more of a nerdy geek punk, but I love sports. I love football. I love hockey. So this is a hockey issue. It's all about me growing up on a lake, me playing hockey as a kid. It's all about the Washington Capitals winning Stanley Cup with Ovechkin. I had a couple other people write stories for it also. I had a couple women write stories, and people that were maybe like non-binary or whatever, where I'm just like, hey, like you're gay and you like hockey, what's that like? And just a chance for us to all be like, yeah, like it's I don't like a lot of people I think kind of have the idea of like, I don't feel like I ever fit in at a sporting event, but I love sports, and that's kind of how I feel too, because I don't feel like I'm a jock, but I love sports. So anyway, hockey issue, color cover, beautiful cover. 3 issues left that all came out this year. It's cool. I love doing your own zine because you can put out one a week, or you can go 10 years in between issues. Who cares? So I did this was from January of 2020. Me and Alicia and our friend Megan stayed up and drank wine all night and had a lot of fun, and I got kind of tipsy, and I got out my typewriter and just started typing whatever stories. There's a lot of like emotional, moody, like, oh, I can't believe, why did we do this? Why did we go to Baltimore? But then we moved back, and now we live in Albuquerque. Like when you're drinking, you kind of get a little, nostalgic, and you're happy and sad at the same time. So it basically has that feel. Typed the whole thing in one night, and then was hungover the next day. So not exactly a 24-hour zine, but basically a 24-hour zine, and then I put it out like the next week. Proof I Exist 31. Anna Jo Beck says Todd Taylor writes Zisk. Yes, Zisk is and see, I'm not really into baseball. Zisk is a good zine though. And the Word Distro puts out a zine called Jock Strap that I love. There's a couple of good sports zines out there, but not a ton, and that's fine. There doesn't need to be a ton. But yeah. Anyway, moving along. 2 issues left. Proof I Exist 31. I don't think my friend Gina is online right now, but she'll maybe watch this later. But I went to Oakland for Dear Diary Zine Fest in February of 2020, and there was this Burning Man display, this Burning Man exhibition at the museum. And we went, and it was really cool. And they had all these weird outfits from Burning Man. If you know what Burning Man is, it's like the big freak festival out in the desert where everyone hangs out and does drugs for a week. And there was this outfit. There's all these like displays of outfits, and Gina was like, hey, like those outfits look like your shoes would like fit right in there. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be pretty funny. So I took my shoes off and put them up there, and then we just sat there and laughed, and all these people came by and they're taking pictures. I'm like, oh, they're taking pictures of my shoes. So I just like walked around the museum in my socks all day, and then it came time to leave, and I was like, that's pretty funny. I'm just going to leave my shoes there. So I just left my shoes in the museum, and then she went back and visited the museum a week later, and they were still there. So I think my shoes are just part of the Burning Man exhibit now. So if you want to read that story, there you go. I sell this on, by the way, I have an Etsy page. You probably all know. I sell it for $2. Okay, last one. Proof I Exist 32. Yay, we've gone through all my Proof I Exist. This one is called Goddamn, I'm Getting Old, because, I'm feeling kind of old. I just had my 40th birthday. Old man. This one has more of my drawings, which, as I've said, are not good, but I love them. I like my drawings. That's a self-portrait. There's me drinking a giant cup of tea early in the morning. Yeah, this is all just different things about how I know that I'm old. For example, I wear sunglasses to protect my eyes, not to look cool. I don't like to watch videos of people getting hurt. Stuff that makes me know that I'm old. It's a pretty good issue. All right. That's it. 32 issues of Proof I Exist. Thank you, everyone. Dan Sutherland asked me if there'd be a Q&A. Sure, this whole thing's been a Q&A. If anyone has any questions, type them in the thing or send me a text, and I'll answer. And otherwise, I've been talking for 58 minutes, so maybe in one more minute, I'll turn this off. It's been really fun going through my old zines. A lot of those I don't remember. I think it's really normal to be embarrassed by your old zines, and a lot of people not only won't reprint their old zines, they destroy their old zines. I've never been that embarrassed, although I'm definitely embarrassed of some of the things I've written, some of the stuff I've done. Oh, why did I tell that story? Stuff that, I've told stories that make me look bad, and that's embarrassing. And then I've also told stories where I'm just bragging about how cool I am, and that's like actually worse. But for the most part, I'm really proud that I've been doing this zine for so long. I didn't think, that I would I didn't really have any plans when I started it, but I've been doing it for 20 years almost now. So it's pretty cool. Thank you, everybody. Check out my Patreon page. Check out my Etsy page. Say hello to me. And I guess that's it. Nobody's got any questions? Cool. I'm going to go have dinner. Much love. Take care. Bye.